Two nuns are moving toward a door that says God ends here in a dark hallway at the Carta Monastery in Romania in 1952. While Sister Victoria, the younger nun, begins to pray, the older nun enters the room through the door in search of some sort of artifact. After being attacked and bleeding, the older nun appears and warns Victoria to flee before she is dragged back into the shadows. The demon nun Valak, the assailant, approaches Victoria slowly but steadily as Victoria dashes for a window. Before Victoria leaps and hangs herself, she prays to God for forgiveness. A while later, a man by the name of Frenchie finds her decomposing body. Victoria's suicide, which is regarded as the worst kind of sin, is discovered by the Vatican officials. Father Anthony Burke Demian Bitcher is hired by them to look into the matter. He seeks out Sister Irene, a young novitiate now working as a teacher for young girls, played by Tessa Farmiga. Together, the two search for Frenchie so that he might lead them to the location of Victoria's body. The three travel to the Abbey, where Frenchie directs Burke and Irene to the icebox where Victoria's body was deposited. Victoria is sitting up when he left her body lying down, as Frenchie points out. When Victoria's fingers are forced open, Burke discovers the key in her hand. After that, they carry her remains to a decent grave to bury her. Burke spots fresh blood on the stairs where Frenchie discovered Victoria's death as he makes his way back toward the Abbey. They then enter the chapel, but are unable to do so quite yet. The abbess welcomes them and explains that they are taking a vow of silence for Victoria and that they can enter the following day. While Frenchie departs, Burke and Irene head to their rooms. As he passes by the shadowy trees, he notices what appears to be Victoria going through them. When he pursues her, a demon nun attacks him. Frenchie picks up a cross off the ground and carries it with him as he leaves. Irene describes to Burke a string of childhood visions she had, each of which ended with the words "Mary points the way." Burke then recounts a situation in France where he was called to exorcise a young kid named Daniel who had been possessed. Daniel Auguste Matura was the victim of the incident. Despite Burke's best efforts, the exorcism left the youngster with mortal injuries, and Burke has since been tormented by remorse. Burke is awakened by music later that evening. He ventures outside and encounters what appears to be a demonic Daniel. Burke is forced into a coffin by the vision's physical manifestation before being buried alive by an evil power and being left with only a bell to ring. Irene awakens as well, wandering the chapel before spotting Valak attempting to harm her in the mirror. Burke rings the doorbell as she exits the building. Several graveyard bells soon begin to ring, but Irene locates Burke's coffin and begins to dig him out. Demon hands begin to tug at him before she can get to him, but Irene is able to rescue him. Burke then discovers a number of occult publications within the coffin. Burke and Irene visit the Abbey the following day, but only Irene is permitted entry. When she encounters Sister Ona Ingrid Bisu, she learns that the nuns alternate shifts of prayer in order to ward off evil. When Ona learns that Irene saw Valak, she recounts how the demon came to be. A duke who was enamored with the forces of hell attempted to open a rift to summon Valak when the abbey was being constructed in the Dark Ages, but several men discovered and killed the duke before Valak could fully emerge, trapping him with an artifact, the same one the nuns from before were looking for, containing the blood of Christ. He remained imprisoned in hell until World War II bombs placed near the abbey caused the split to open, allowing the demon to escape. Ona reveals that Valak assumes the appearance of a nun in order to blend in with the group and exploit their vulnerabilities. Burke reads about Valak in the interim and discovers his name. Frenchie is in a tavern when he learns that one of the customers' 12-year-old daughter apparently saw something terrible and killed herself by hanging. The bartender informs Frenchie that Burke and Irene might wind up becoming the next victims after hearing that Frenchie traveled to the abbey with them. Burke tries to enter the abbey once more, but each time he does, the abbess greets him and informs him there is no other way in. Burke goes to inquire the abbess about the key he discovered with Victoria, but she informs him that it is too late and that Irene has gone missing. She then seems to go limp. Burke tries to lift her veil so he may see her, but when he does, her demonic body grabs him and he has to rip her hand away. Irene sees another terrifying image of Valak and then wakes up. She leaves her chamber and the evil nun attacks her once more. Burke hears the noise and rushes to save her, but when Frenchie arrives with a shotgun, he too is attacked. While an evil entity carves a pentagram into Irene's back, she locates the other nuns and begins to pray with them. When Irene next sees what appears to be Ona's dead body, she swiftly recognizes that Ona and the other nuns were actually visions rather than actual people. The three come together as they understand that Victoria wasn't actually trying to kill herself. Rather, she gave herself up so that Volok couldn't take over her body and inflict terror. In order to locate the object containing Christ's blood, they enter the catacombs. Sure enough, after opening its chamber with Victoria's key, they locate the vial containing the blood. Soon after, Volok reappears and assaults the group. While Burke is being attacked by the demon Daniel, he begins to attempt to possess Irene. Irene is briefly possessed, but Frenchie frees her by spitting blood on her. Volok attacks Frenchie with the dark energy before attempting to drown Irene. The vial is broken when he lifts her up. In order to send Volok back to hell and close the split, she spits the blood in his direction. Irene asks Frenchie what his real name is, and he replies that it's Maurice as the group exits the convent. The back of Maurice's neck then reveals an upside-down cross that has been burned there. The movie ends with a modern-day scene from the original Conjuring movie, where Carolyn Perrin Lily Taylor is listening to Ed and Lorraine Warren Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga speak at a seminar about their experience with the possessed Maurice, who eventually committed himself. She experienced images as a result of his touch with Lorraine, and sadly, it wasn't the last time she would run with Volok.